We got to look at the in-car footage of Cody Ware's impact in Chicago, and it is absolutely brutal. Connor Zilisch and Shane Van Gisbergen put on an all-time great race at Sonoma on Saturday in the Xfinity Series race, plus Formula One in America. It's likely headed to Apple TV now. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. So on Friday evening in Iowa, the IndyCar Series appeared to get a glimpse of a tornado off in the distance outside of the racetrack there in Newton, Iowa. And I thought it was a tornado. Andretti Autosport thought it was a tornado. Other people thought it was a tornado as well. And it turns out that maybe it wasn't a tornado, or at least that's what all the people in my comment section on TikTok said, because apparently they're all now Ryan Hall, Jim Cantori. All of them are meteorologists or weatherologists or whatever they want to be referred to. People are telling me, oh, that's a scud cloud. That's not a real thing. That's absolutely made up. Probably is a real thing. I just don't care to look it up enough because, well, I don't have to deal with tornadoes that often. I guess I could end up getting a tornado, but I've never seen a tornado. Yet all these Iowans are in my comments acting like complete hardos. Oh, welcome to Iowa. First time you ever seen one? We have 22. Still went to work. Okay, cool. I've never seen one. I would prefer not to see one. I said it was close to the racetrack. Somebody's like, oh, that's 3 to 4 miles away. Listen, buddy, in the vicinity of things, 3 to 4 miles seems pretty close to me when it's a tornado. I guess it has to be 10 plus miles away to not be close or not be. I don't know what the whole point of that was. Regardless, it looked like a tornado. I'm going to say it was a tornado because, well, it just looks cooler regardless. Yeah, it's not the 2004 Indianapolis 500, but it was still a tornado in my book. I can't wait for all the weather comments to come into this as well. But let's get into what we want to talk about today. On Saturday, during the NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying broadcast, they showed the in-car camera footage of Cody Ware in that head-on impact he made with the Turn 6 wall in Chicago, and it was violent. Like Jeff Gordon, 2008 backstretch at Las Vegas, levels of violent. They won't ever actually let you see the in-car footage of that and the effects that it had on Jeff Gordon's body, but we did get to see what it looked like for Cody Ware, and it was a big-time impact. Now, obviously, we've seen the broadcast wreck of the footage. We've seen the fan camera side footage right there, entrance to turn 6, and you just see Cody fly by like a Cuban missile and just absolutely annihilate that wall, push the right front wheel all the way back into the firewall, essentially. Cody said that it cracked his Hans device. It also cracked the foam in his helmet as well. Thankfully, all the safety equipment did its job. But let's take a look at the video of the onboard because it, like I said, is a big time impact. So the first portion of it here, you get to see it in real time. And you can see the impact and just the violence of it. Wheel collapses down, his head jerks forward. Now, I slowed it down here, so he hits the wall, trying to scrub some speed, and now he's going to make the impact. Head launches forward, steering column absolutely collapses, his fingers go up against the dash. That's how far the wheel goes forward. Thankfully, he didn't Billy from Hocus Pocus his fingers there, but just the overall violence of that crash and how far his head was able to snap forward, and thank God for the Hans device. Thank God for all the safety initiatives that NASCAR has made, because a few years ago, pre-Hans device, he's probably going to the hospital for that. That is an injury wreck. And thankfully this weekend he's racing. Regardless of what your thoughts are on Cody Ware, the fact that all the safety equipment did its job is a testament to all the work NASCAR has done, and credit to Cody for being able to get out and walk away from that as well. So yeah, it was a violent impact. It absolutely should have had a caution come out at the time. Shane Van Gisbergen was on the Rubbin' His Racing podcast, the Barstool podcast this week, and he mentioned something that NASCAR should absolutely take a look at, because he said down in Australian Supercars, race control has a G meter essentially, and when a crash passes over that G meter, that threshold, it flashes up on the screens to let them know that there was a big impact somewhere on the circuit involving that car and that it's going to need safety attention. NASCAR should definitely look at exploring the possibility of putting those on race cars, especially on a place like a road course where you're going to have a big time, you can have a big time wreck and it might not go noticed by race control. And I think very soon NASCAR's remote race control in Charlotte is going to have a lot more cameras set up, and they should be able to identify these things maybe quicker than the race director in the booth does at the racetrack. Regardless of that, though, I think that is a safety issue that they should look at. That way, if there is a big time wreck like this and they didn't see it happen, but their screen's flashing red being like, oh, it passed over X amount of G's, we need to get a safety vehicle to this car, then the caution would come out a lot quicker. Obviously, SVG admitted that he was the benefactor of them not throwing the caution because he's able to take the white flag and ultimately be like all the way off into turn 2, essentially, by the time that caution came out for the Cody Ware incident. But getting to see the in-car camera of the effects on his body like that, yeah, like I understand why the dude was sore this week and why he was probably limping around a little bit, because that was a heavy heavy impact on Cody Ware. The hottest topic in NASCAR this week has been whether or not there are too many road courses on the NASCAR calendar. It might be one of the dumbest arguments that this fan base has had in quite some time because people seemingly are all over the place. And honestly, I think the genesis of the entire argument and why people are upset is because there were 3 road course races scheduled in 5 weeks, and that's just too many for people. Even though I tried pointing out that, like, hey, the next 17 races, you're only going to have 2 road courses versus the previous version, you had 4, whatever. People didn't want to hear it. That's fine. I will say, though, on Saturday in the Xfinity Series race at Sonoma, we were treated to an all-time great race, so maybe we do want the road courses on the schedule. Because Shane Van Gisbergen and Connor Zilisch, 2 of the best to do it right now in NASCAR on a road course, treated us to a really good battle for the lead, and, well, everybody else was essentially racing for third on Saturday. So, spoiler alert here, if you don't want to hear who won, I'll shut up for a second. You can click off, you can skip ahead to the next chapter, and 3, 2, 1. Connor Zilisch can eat the cheese, but he cannot drink the wine in Sonoma as he goes to victory lane, out-dueling Shane Van Gisbergen as both of them in junior motorsport cars gap the field. You know, Williams Walsh hung in there for a little bit, but in stage number 1 and stage number 2, those 2 guys just absolutely drove away from the entire field. The race got started off pretty hot very quickly. Right as the green flag fell, Daniel Dye did a little off-road action, a little Baja, wanted to head out to the desert, except they were in Northern California. Thankfully, he got back on the track without incident there, but did a little bit of lawn mowing of some very dead grass. He did a little earth grading because it's more dirt than it is grass out there right now. Then from there, it was Shane Van Gisbergen and Connor Zilisch just going back and forth, trading the lead. At one point, Zilisch took the lead. He wanted to get out to a lead, wanted to get the fastest lap. He does that, and then SVG, as he's attempting to catch the 88 again, sets the fastest lap again. So it was a trade-off between the 2 of them, but it was fun to watch. They both led the most laps of the day, Zilisch leading 46, SVG leading 24. The only other 2 drivers to lead laps on Saturday were Sam Mayer and Brandon Jones, and they both won the stages while the other 2 flipped the stages. So ultimately, it was just a battle between those 2 drivers, being Zilisch and Van Gisbergen. Other incidents that we had on track, Austin Hill and Corey Day got together. You could argue that Corey Day kind of forced the 21 onto the curb, and the 21 came back and hit the 17 of Corey Day. Day probably should have had a top 15 finish, ends up finishing like 24th, I believe, on the day. So not an ideal outcome for him, but I think more impressive than I would have expected for a guy that has like 3 Trans Am races on his record. And that's the only road racing he's ever done. So the fact that he's able to come in the Xfinity Series and be competitive and at least be sniffing around the top 10 was rather impressive. Just unfortunately doesn't have the finish that he probably deserved to get out of it. Then you had another incident on the last lap of the race where Austin Hill just went ahead and shipped Sam Mayer. Not really sure what that was about either, but Austin Hill back on his bullshit once again. He wasn't happy with Daniel Dye flipping him off. Now this week he's just taking out his frustration because, well, last year he was racing for the win here, and SVG did a burnout in his face. Well, he flipped off SVG, which, in fairness, if it was okay for him to do it, but it wasn't okay for Daniel Dye to do it a couple of weeks ago, I don't know, some double standards or something like that. I don't know. Austin is Austin Hill, but hey, he can wheel a race car, so I got to give him that there, especially on a super speedway as well. But in the last stage, we had this great battle between SVG and Connor Zilisch, and the 2 of them were trying to save fuel as they continued to drive away from the rest of the field there, and it felt like SVG was maybe just saving his stuff, and he could get around the 88 if he wanted to, and he would drop back and then close the gap and get right back to the bumper of the 88, and then drop back and close the gap once again. It was kind of fun to watch him be able to turn it on and turn it off immediately. Then with like 2 laps to go, the 9 of SVG gets in the back of the 88 of Zilisch, got him loose a couple times, but nothing super egregious. And remember, last week at Chicago, they had their battle on that green-white checker. Zilisch felt like he got stuffed by SVG, which he said on radio. He said that on the radio. I know he did not say that to the TV broadcast, but he said that to the radio broadcast. Just let's clear that up before people come at me once again this week. And it felt like SVG was definitely making, a concerted effort to race him cleaner this week. And ultimately never moved him, could have dumped him on the last lap of the race. Zilisch gave a huge block into that corner at the top of the hill before they head down into the S's. And SVG didn't wreck him there, gets down into turn 11, and Zilisch kind of ran him wide, Max Verstappen style, was able to get the drive off, ends up winning the race. And the 2 of them talked afterwards, to TV separately. Of course, Zilisch, super complimentary of the way that SVG raced him, said he had a lot of fun out there, all the things that go along with that. Shane, very happy with the way that they raced. Seemed like he was maybe happier this week finishing second than he was last week winning the race. He was super excited afterwards, and it's because those two guys put on an absolute show. Shane Van Gisbergen right now is the best driver on a road course in NASCAR. I think we all can agree to that, but he has said that Connor is one of the guys that can absolutely keep up with him, and Connor is a super talented road racer. He's a super talented race car driver altogether, and I stand by what I said. Trackhouse is going to spend a lot of money developing this guy just to watch him win a championship over at Hendrick Motorsports or another big team, and I still think that's going to happen in the future. But for Zilisch, it's a big win for him. It's a third win of the season, fourth win of his career, 3 on road courses. Now, of course, he got that win on his first oval at Pocono, which you can make an argument whether that's an oval or not. And for SVG, hey, he can hop in these cars and be just as good. And for him, having the seat time at Sonoma before the Cup Series race on Sunday, where he also won the pole at, is definitely a good thing. Ultimately, I think it kind of came down to maybe he saved a little bit too much and then didn't want to rough up his teammate as well, especially coming off of Chicago last weekend. I think if it wasn't his teammate, Shane Van Gisbergen stand in victory lane sipping wine with his wife and Dale Jr. But because it was a teammate, he wasn't going to do that. Also, shout out to William Swalch. Best ever finished in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, a P3 finish, coming off a win in the ARCA race on Friday night out at Sonoma, and a weird 3-wide battle for the win at the line. 3-wide finish. He and Christian Eckes and Alan Day, I believe, as well there. So great for William Swalch. It's been an absolute struggle of a season for him in the Xfinity Series, and obviously I've been a bit critical of him at times, but when you have a good run, you deserve to get recognition for that good run, and that was a good run for he and that 18 team on Saturday at Sonoma. They're off to Dover next weekend, which I think Connor Zilisch maybe forgot that was happening, or maybe that's the next race that SVG's riding. I don't know, but he's like, I hope we can do that again in Indy. Well, you got Dover coming up, but I think it was maybe in reference to the SVG thing. Last topic of the day. It sounds like you're about to be able to watch Ted Lasso, Mystical Bell, say Mock, and Formula One all in the same place on Apple TV Plus starting in 2026, because ESPN has reportedly bowed out of the bidding process for Formula One's television rights in the United States. So as we talked about before, Formula One was looking for somewhere between $160 and $180 million a year for their television rights. ESPN currently pays between $85 and $90 million, which is up over the, free rights that they had when they first started broadcasting back in, 2018? And now you have another player getting in on the action. Apple has reportedly bid $150 million a year to Formula One to be able to carry races on Apple TV Plus. ESPN said, that's too expensive for our taste. We're not interested in that anymore. They're looking to be more fiscally responsible, considering they are basically just getting absolutely brutalized by that NBA contract that they signed. They overpaid for the NBA, and now they're having to cut back in other areas as well. And Formula One at $150 million just isn't on the table for them. And let me say, I'm not 100% sold that ESPN would have been the better option here in terms of growth, because the ESPN package was different than what the Apple TV package is. So the Apple TV package essentially is all Formula One will be on Apple TV. You know exactly where it's going to be. It's going to be on Apple TV at the times that it says it's going to be on. You know it's always going to be there. Great. Well, Formula One on ESPN was offering select races on ESPN, select races on ABC, and then a handful of races exclusively on the app. That's not great for a series that's looking to grow. And the ESPN app is where things go to be forgotten for the most part. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched something on the ESPN app, at least willingly watch something on the ESPN app. So now you have this Apple TV option, and it's starting to not look too bad. Yeah, of course, I think we're going to have to pay extra for it, a lot like the MLS package. But if the ESPN package is going to stunt growth and the Apple TV package is going to stunt growth, well, take the money of the Apple TV package and at least know that everything is going to be, all sessions, all qualifying, all practice, all races are going to be in one location, and they're not going to have to be channel hopping or app hopping like you would over at ESPN. Which is kind of frustrating that that's the direction ESPN wanted to go with it. But right now, Formula One's averaging 1.3 million viewers in the United States this year. Viewership has definitely started to plateau. It's slightly growing, but not in the astronomical rise like it was. And there's a reason only really Apple and ESPN were bidding on this, because Formula One broadcasting rights they're a hard thing to make money off of. All the races are on at seemingly different times for the most part. Obviously, we know the European races are all on at the same time. The Asian races are all at the same time. The American races are all seemingly on at the same time. But you're talking about, races seemingly every week for the most part on at different times. And that's a difficult thing to sell to advertisers because you don't know if the audience is going to be there every single week. And then you throw in the fact that it's hard to make money because now Formula One viewers in the United States expect there to be no commercials, commercial-free broadcast the way it should be. People forget, pre-ESPN, there were commercials during the broadcast. There absolutely were. ESPN came along, introduced commercial-free broadcasts, and, well, they've now set the standard, and the expectation is you better be commercial-free. Apple will be able to do that because they're going to take the Prime approach that NASCAR, or that Prime did to NASCAR, and do it a little bit differently than what you see on broadcasts, on cable and everything like that. So there's a reason NBC didn't bid on it, Fox didn't bid on it, Prime, Netflix, they all passed on it as well. It's a hard venture to try to make some money on. Apple's going to try their best at it. Obviously, nothing is officially signed yet, but it definitely feels and seems like Apple is going to be the one to land television rights in the United States. And hey, they're coming off the success of the F1 movie, which I still think should have been called something other than F1, but that's a branding thing for sure. So we'll see what happens now. And before anybody asks, no, I don't know if it's going to be a simulcast of the Sky broadcast, if they're going to do their own thing. I would imagine that you may see, this is me thinking out loud because it makes too much sense, a combination of F1 TV and Apple TV and kind of that being blended together in a sense. I think that might be sort of the avenue that they end up going down. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But for now, let me know in the comments what you thought about the Cody Ware crash, the Xfinity Series race on Saturday at Sonoma, plus Apple TV potentially getting the Formula One TV rights in the United States. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.